Hey everybody, it's Fernando from the Rollback Podcast, and today I am reviewing the 2024 horror movie, Imaginary. Now, Imaginary. When Jessica moves back into her childhood home with her family, her youngest stepdaughter, Alice, finds a stuffed bear named Chauncey. As Alice's behavior becomes more and more concerning, Jessica intervenes only to realize that Chauncey is much more than the toy bear she believed him to be. Now, before we get into this movie, oh boy, I just want to take a couple minutes. Man, the state of movie theaters. So when I went to go see this movie, I saw this movie at my local AMC theater, and next to me was my girlfriend, and next to us was this family of like 5 or 6, and wow, I have never had to go and call a manager at a movie theater for anybody, ever, at all. This was the first time I've ever had to do that. Now, most of the time, I get it. I will, like most people, I'll bite my tongue. I won't really say anything. But this time, it was just the first 15-20 minutes of this movie. I was really trying hard to focus on the movie, but it was tough because so next to me there was this family of 6. It was about three boys who were really young, probably 7 to 9 year old range, and it was just, man, they were making every noise that they could. They had the recliners all the way back, which is fine, it's whatever, but they were leaving their shoes in the middle of the aisle. And then not just that, they just wouldn't stop talking throughout that first 15-20 minutes of the movie, and they didn't let up. So that's where I got to the point where I just had enough. I had to go talk to the manager. And what I found shocking was the first thing the manager said when I went to go talk to them was, "Do you want to leave?" No, I do not want to leave. I paid to come see this movie. If anything, do your job. It's crazy on how much movie theater etiquette has changed in a span of 15-20 years. Because now it's okay for people to take out their phone and text, and hey, I'm guilty of it too, but I make sure that no one's around me. If no one's around me, sure, I'll take out my phone, I'll text, but if people are around me, I leave my phone in my pocket, or I go to outside and I'll go text. But for the most part, I try my best to respect the people around me. And what's nuts is just how, hey man, if your kids can't handle being in a theater for an hour and a half, 2 hours, then that's something you need to work on. Because, man, I remember going to the movies as a kid, and we were able to handle it. And it's just crazy on how much movie theater etiquette has changed so much in the last 15-20 years of this century, not 1990s, of this century, 2000, the 2010s to 2020s. Like, it is crazy on how much it has changed. And you know, it was probably one of my worst movie theater experiences, just from the people alone. And I've never had problems at this theater before. I go to this theater all the time. It's my regular theater. But just, man, and it just really irked me that parents couldn't care less. They really did not care at all. And just that these kids were making so much noise. And I was just like, Jesus, man, how is this acceptable? But yeah, that was my quick rant. I really hope I didn't take up too much time on that one. But yeah, just I really wanted to get that off my chest. So for this movie, Imaginary, we'll get back into the movie. The cast goes as follows: DeWanda Rise as Jessica, the stepmom. We have Tegan Burns as Taylor, the stepdaughter, the oldest. Not him. Tom Payne, who plays the father, and Piper Braun, who plays Alice. Now that's the main character that we really followed throughout the movie, aside from Jessica. Overall, Did I enjoy this movie? Yeah, I found it plenty enjoyable. It's not an overtly bloody movie or anything like that. It's PG-13, so it's pretty light on the blood side. I thought the concept was interesting. The fact that this imaginary creature is an actual thing that had a previous relationship with Jessica, and now it's moved on to Alice. I'm trying not to say any spoilers. This is all stuff that has popped out in the trailer. The trailer itself I thought was very interesting as well. I thought the trailer did very good at getting people interested in watching this movie. Now, as far as the movie goes, I thought the suspense was good. It has jump scares. I mean, you won't find a horror movie today that does not have jump scares, so you kind of have to accept that. But yes, there are jump scares. Do I think they work in this movie? Yeah, I thought they worked plenty fine throughout the movie. The cast, DeWanda Wise as Jessica, I thought she was really good. The only other movie I'd seen her in was Jurassic World Dominion. She plays the pilot. And then Tegan Burns, I hadn't really seen much of her. The main thing that she has been in was Mighty Ducks Game Changers, the show on Disney Plus. Haven't seen it, so I have no real, skin in the game when it comes to judging whether or not her performance was great or whatever. But I thought she played fine as the teenage stepdaughter who hates the stepmom. Tom Payne, you know him primarily from Walking Dead. He played Jesus. And Piper Braun. Piper Braun is pretty much a newcomer. I was looking at her stuff. She's done a lot of TV work, but I mean, I think this is her first major theatrical movie, and I thought she did really well. I'd say she's on par with having a good career. But no, I thought she did really well. The side characters that we see throughout the movie, I think, are fine. But the movie itself, I guess it's also tough because horror is in a bit of a weird state. I mean, horror movies are... I mean, it's tough now. Most horror movies are either ghost or possession or something of that sort. If it's not a reboot, it's very hard to make horror movies these days, especially good ones. Especially because the audience has gotten so smart with these movies. You can pick out where someone's gonna pop out. You can pick out where someone's gonna die, and it just pretty much becomes if the audience can figure it out quick enough. So it's kind of tough to make a horror movie these days. One thing I will say is that this movie did, at least for me, I thought this movie was really well casted. I thought the story was nice. It was original. I thought, from what my girlfriend said, it reminds her a lot of the movie Coraline. Granted, I've never seen Coraline. She keeps trying to make me watch it. I've never seen it before. So if you're a Coraline fan, you will see some similarities between the stories. And I was looking at the ratings, like on Rotten Tomatoes. So far the critics consensus is a 27% tomato meter for critics with 81 reviews. And then for audience score, it goes up to at least 52%. So it's not at a score that, the majority hate it. No, it's really on a teeter-totter. It's kind of like some people hate it, some people like it. I'm on the side that likes it. I thought it was plenty fine. Especially because, I mean, this first quarter of the year, horror movies just... You never really have a good horror movie in the first quarter of any year. Now, is there a horror movie that has come out in the first quarter that's actually really good? I'm sure. There probably is. Do I know? Absolutely not. But yeah, it's always a little wonky at the beginning of the year, mostly because it's like a lot of people don't want to put out their stuff, or it's stuff that's been on the back burner. They're like, well, let's just put it out there, see what happens. But so far, I mean, in my opinion, I thought the movie was fine. I didn't think the movie was horrible. I didn't think it was a horrible movie. From what I'm seeing from the director, he has a few other horror movies under his belt. Nothing crazy to that fact. He directed The Curse of Bridge Hollow. Well, it was a Netflix movie. He didn't do Bloodshot. He didn't direct Bloodshot, but he was a writer on there. He directed the Fantasy Island reboot. I remember I saw that one in theaters. I don't know, it wasn't that great. Truth or Dare. That one I never saw. But again, I did not hear great things. But his directing credits go all the way back to Cry Wolf. Now, Cry Wolf I do remember because it came out in 2005, and I was a kid when that one came out. Now, that movie, I wasn't a big fan, but I mean, it looked scary from what it came out to be. But I think at the end, like, it fell flat. But he did Never Back Down. Never Back Down. This is a guilty pleasure of mine. I like that movie. I think it's a good Karate Kid ripoff. Especially with MMA. Granted, it has Amber Heard in there, but it's not bad. Kick-Ass 2. Honestly, I like Kick-Ass 2. The only thing I felt where it fell short was using Jim Carrey, and I think it also sucked that Jim Carrey was like, I'm not gonna promote this movie because of all the things that happened. So he's just kind of like, it's kind of like that. But back to Imaginary. Now, Imaginary. Is it a movie that you're going to be like, oh man, that was a masterpiece, that was the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life? No. Are you going to say, it was alright? It was actually a pretty decent story. It was something I don't regret coming to the movies for. Yeah, I think it's going to be around that boat. But for me, yeah, I did find the movie interesting. I found the story interesting because it's something that we don't really see a lot of. But overall, I thought the movie was really well done, and I hope to get more original stories out there, at least for horror movies. It's really tough right now because it's either it goes really one way, which is like real artsy, which I'm not a fan of. Like, yeah, psychological horror is a thing. I don't want to be messed up psychologically from a horror movie. I want to be lost in that first couple hours, and that's it. After that, I kind of want to forget about it. And then, like, there's just real campy movies. Like, Thanksgiving was so campy. It was such a campy movie to the point where you were like, all right, we get it. It's enough. It's enough. We can stop. We can stop now. But overall, if I had to rate this movie, I'd give this movie 3.5 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. So it's not bad. It's about a B. But overall, I like this movie. Check it out. Help out your local theater. If someone speaks during a movie, speak up, because it's just going to perpetuate the cycle that it's okay to keep doing this. So if someone's doing that in your theater, please speak up, because it's getting ridiculous out there. But yeah, thank you for joining me for my short and hopefully sweet review of Imaginary. Please check us out, the Rollback Podcast, wherever you get your podcast needs. Google, Spotify, Apple, everywhere you get your podcast needs, we're there. YouTube as well. Me and Eddie put out a 11 count podcast on wrestling. We put out other podcasts for like video consumption, like this one, for example, or even on TikTok. Eddie's really big on putting 1 minute reviews on TikTok. So please check us out wherever you get your podcast needs. But yeah, that's about it. I'm Ferny. This was your Rollback Podcast for Imaginary. Please check us out again, and let's cut it.